matter.
And Senator Sampson, do you accept the yield?
I do. Good to see you up there, Madam President. I rise in full support of Senator Harding's motion to divide the question into just two parts. I think that we actually could divide this question into a lot more parts than that, and that's the reason why I'm rising today. It's very frustrating to go through a legislative session that gives us effectively a container in which the business of the people is supposed to be achieved. It has a start date and an end date. We all know that end date very well as sine die, and that is a date that has historically been respected by this body. And it is an obligation of the majority to accomplish their work during that time frame. And it is, in fact, the hard work of the minority are very few options that we have to try and slow down the agenda of the majority to be able to utilize that timeline for our benefit as well. When that respect for the time frame of the session is ignored by year after year repeated special sessions where the majority can come back with no safeguards that exist in the normal session period where we get to determine the length of debate, the amount of time and energy that can be devoted by the minority to kind of inflict our ability to have a say in the outcome of things. That goes away in special session. In special session, my ability individually as a state senator to get up here and speak, to offer amendments, to be able to make a case to filibuster, if must be, is negated. And I believe it's unfair. I think that the folks that laid out our process of a start date and a sine die, an end date for session, did it on purpose to give the minority an opportunity to have a real say in what the outcome of that session is. So it's frustrating that as long as I've been in the legislature, I believe the frequency of special sessions has increased dramatically. I also have noted that, special sessions are often described as being driven by urgent needs. And in fact, the bill that we're going to vote on today is an emergency certified bill. But I'm here to state for the record, Madam President, that there's nothing in this bill that is an emergency. And we have actual emergency things going on in our state. We have election integrity issues that I believe ought to be addressed and should have been addressed before the end of the session. That would be a real emergency. There are elections coming. There's an election in Bridgeport for a primary that's coming up in August. And when that comes up, I doubt that you can get too many citizens in Bridgeport to stand up and volunteer that they are going to have confidence in their elections. They would like us to do something here. And that's not happening today. There's also the matter of the pension issue for our fallen trooper that has entered the news media in the last several weeks. That's something that I think every member in both parties and the leadership in both parties has expressed a desire to address. But yet we're not doing that today either. What we're doing is a lot of things that should have been accomplished during the regular session, and an item that no one's ever heard of before the last several days, that's never received a public hearing, that is extremely controversial and could ultimately impact the water rates for hundreds of thousands of people across our state. These are big things, and they're big things that ought to be taken care of with respect. And I believe the respect of our process and our parameters of session are being disrespected by bringing us here for this omnibus bill. I know that when I talk to my constituents, they don't want to see a giant, huge, fat bill that has got a dozen unrelated things slammed into it. That frustrates them, and it frustrates me. We had maybe one of the most difficult decisions as a caucus over the last several days to determine individually what we're going to do about the bill that's before us. And that's because when you start putting together all these different pieces, there are things we like, there are things we don't like. And I believe that that's the reason for doing this, is it's trying to get people boxed in so that if you want to support some aspect of this bill, you have to take another piece that you don't like. I don't think that's fair. And I don't think that that's what our constituents want. I think our constituents want us to be able to vote comfortably up or down on individual policy members, not boxed in and forced to adopt measures that we don't agree with just to get something that we do. I'll just make a final note, which is that Senator Harding mentioned that we have a senator that has got to recuse themselves. They're recusing themselves because of 1% of this omnibus bill that is before us. So if it wasn't for the fact that that 1% is being tacked on and into the large, huge bill that is made up of all these different pieces, they'd be able to vote on the other 99% of material. So you're denying that senator his ability to cast a vote. It's also denying the constituents that that senator represents, 100,000 people in this state of Connecticut that deserve representation. I am hoping that my colleagues, and I'm sorry for taking a few minutes here, but I'm hoping I'm getting through to my colleagues. This is not just about the substance of what we're talking about. This is about respect for this institution and the quality of work we do here and the respect that we have for us in both parties, majority and minority, and as individual lawmakers, to not put each other in a box so that we can do our job effectively. I don't know if I need to yield back to Senator Harding. No, I guess that is all, and I hope we can proceed with this motion, and I encourage my colleagues to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Will you remark further? Senator Duff.